Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. I'm Lysha from Lysha Be Creative, and in today's tutorial we are going to be creating a Halloween scene on a tumbler. So of course everything that I use in today's tutorial will be listed and linked in the description box below. Feel free to check that description box out for discount codes as well as all the links to my social media and of course my Facebook group, Lysha Be Creative Community. Lastly, if you haven't and if you love today's tutorial, give this video a huge thumbs up as well as subscribe to my channel so you don't miss my next tutorial. So let's go ahead and jump right into this super exciting and spooky Halloween themed tutorial. So for today's tutorial, I've started off with a 32-ounce Plump from the Steel Magnolia that I have spray painted in an ombre. So I've used a black matte for the top and bottom, and then in the middle I've gone with a gloss purple, a French lilac, and a silver lilac. So choosing today's colors was definitely a tough decision. I probably pulled about every purple that I could think of off of my shelves, and I've decided that I'm going to mix a few colors together to kind of get the colors that I need. So I'm starting with kind of my lighter purple, and I'm starting with Barney. I'm going to put Barney, the K, and Dazed, all three from Peachy Olive Glitters, into a medicine cup and then mix. So I'm doing about equal parts of each of the glitter colors, and because I couldn't decide on one color specifically, I thought that I would mix a couple custom mixes to get the colors that I really wanted. So once I've done with that one, I'm going to do the same with my darker purple. So I am using Teeg, 112, and Fresh Prince. All three of these are from Peachy Olive Glitters as well, to get kind of the darker purple color that I'm looking to get on my cup. So this will kind of be the top portion of my ombre, and then the first custom mix that I mixed would be for the middle section of my ombre. So now I'm just going to apply a small amount of epoxy to my cup. So about, I would say, 2 ml of epoxy that I am smoothing onto my tumbler. Again, making sure that I'm getting full coverage all over my tumbler so that I can go into glittering this cup in an ombre. So now for glittering. So I'm going to start, and I am going to apply Batman to the bottom of my cup. So Batman is a black glitter that is from Peachy Olive Glitters. You guys have seen me do my epoxy method glitter ombres before, but I am just going to very quickly walk through this for anyone who hasn't seen any of my tutorials before. So I'm starting with Batman from Peachy Olive Glitters. I'm going to sort of build my ombre from the bottom to the top. That's just how I like to work. I know some people like to work from top to bottom. Some people will start with their lighter colors, and others like to start with their darker colors. I just like to start from the bottom. I find that it's the easiest way for me to work. So now that I have Batman on the cup, I'm then going to be going in with another color, and I'm going to work on that next section. So I'm taking Lilac. This is from Lysha Creations. So this was one of her glitter colors that came, I believe, in her 10K bundle. So it may not be available, but a good alternative for this would be to just go in with the Peachy Olive color Fresh Prince and mix it with a little bit of white. That would give you this exact same color as well. So I'm just going to kind of sprinkle that section right above the black and then go back in with Batman and ombre up towards the lilac color. So once I'm satisfied with that section of glitter color, I'll then move into my 2 custom mixes to get those applied to the cup as well. So now I'm going to take my lighter custom mix, and I'm going to go just above that lilac color. So I'm about halfway in the middle of the cup, I would say. So I'm about midway through the tumbler, and I am tilting my cup downward and applying that custom mix that I created. So this was Barney, Dazed, and the K. Those 3 colors are mixed in this cup, and I'm just tilting my cup down to try and blend that color into the lilac color from my Lysha Creations. So once I get that on, I'm then going to go back with Lilac and try an ombre upward towards the first custom mix that I've applied to the cup. And so I'm showing you this whole process, and then I'm going to show you kind of what happened. So I messed up a bit on my ombre, so it wasn't blended the way that I wanted it to be blended. It looked very choppy, but I am going to show you how I fixed that. So now I'm going to go in with my darker blend that I created. So this was Teeg, fresh prints, and 112. So I'm just going to go pretty heavy here and blend downward towards that first custom mix section. I really love this color, this kind of purple color. 112 is kind of a very unique color. It looks blue in the bottle, but when you mix it with other kind of purpley tones, it definitely pulls out its true purple color. So I'm just going to blend this downward as much as I can, and then I'll go back with my other custom mix and do the exact same thing, ombreing upwards before I finish out the top section of the color. So as I was applying that first custom mix and trying to blend upward towards the second darker custom colored purple that I created, I was starting to see and notice that I wasn't particularly happy with the way my ombre was turning out. In hindsight, I think for me, I just am so much more used to working out of a shaker bottle that when I put my mix in the medicine cup, it just was a different feel. So I didn't get the ombre that I wanted, but I am going to show you exactly how I'm going to fix that. So back to my ombre here, I then go in with teeg, and I'm going to use teeg, which is the darkest of the purples that I have. That way I have a better blend towards the top portion of my cup into that black and top color that I'm going to be using. So for the top section, I'm actually going to go in with Trick or Treat. So Trick or Treat is another glitter color from my Aisha Creations. This was in her September subscription box. It is not yet available on her site. It will be available soon, but certainly keep checking her site for that. A good alternative would be a green and purple mix. So I put Trick or Treat down with the chunky mix, and then I'm going to go over that with Batman and blend downwards towards my teeg section. So I wanted to put a little bit of green into here because I just love green and purple and black when it comes to Halloween. I'm a little bit different because I know a lot of people think Halloween and they think orange, but I just love purple, green, and black. There's something about those three colors that just scream Halloween to me. So again, I wasn't particularly thrilled about my ombre here, so I'm going to go ahead and fast forward and show you how I'm going to fix my ombre. Okay, to fix my ombre, I've let my glitter dry for 2 hours, and then I'm going to go in with clear gloss spray. I'm then going to take fresh prints, and I'm going to kind of use that as my middle section to ombre it downward, and then I'm going to go in towards the bottom section, and I'm going to be using the K. So just the K. I'm not using my custom mix right this moment. I'm just using the plain traditional colors right now without the other mixed colors. So after I have gone in with the K, I'm then going to do that top section, and I'm going to go and ombre in with Belieber. So Belieber is a thicker cut of, a chunkier cut, if you will, of teeg, and that is just going to help me blend that top section. So this still pulls all of those same colors that were in the custom mix, just the blend on top now looks much better, and it doesn't look so chunky. So tap off the excess glitter. I'll then let this dry, apply 2 coats of clear gloss spray, and then apply 3 coats of epoxy. All right, let's go get into our design space work. So I have a few images that I've uploaded into Cricut Design Space. I will link all the SVGs and where I got them from in the description box, so please feel free to check that out so you can get these and create your own. So what I'm going to do now that I've chosen the decals that I want to apply, I have measured my cup to determine how large I want my scene to be. So I've measured my cup to be about 9.5 inches in width, so all the way around, and about 9.25 in height. Now, my cup is actually 10 inches in height, but I did shorten it because I'm going to keep that bottom section black. So now I'm just going to kind of use my decals to build the scene on my tumbler so that I know where exactly I'm going to be applying each of these decals and making sure that everything fits perfectly. So with my bat SVGs, I'm just hiding all of the bats except for one that I'm just going to duplicate multiple times and resize that to fit on my canvas, and this will be the little bats that go around my moon shape that I'm going to be applying to this cup as well. So now that I've duplicated that, I'm going to go over and I am going to size all of these a little bit smaller. I didn't want them to be too large. I wanted them to be kind of delicate and small. And now I'm going to sort of assemble the scene that I have for this design. So I'm going to obviously put my trees along the bottom, which will be the tree line, and you'll see how I create that tree line on the cup in a little bit. So I'm going to arrange my trees to where I want them to fit, and now I'm going to grab a circle shape and size that to be about 3 inches, and I'll make that white to represent the moon and then apply that to my scene here as well. And now I'm going to take those bats and I'm going to just rearrange them where I see fit. Now, this isn't going to be necessarily exactly how everything is going to be placed. I end up moving the bats around a little bit, but this kind of gives me a bit of an idea as to how everything is going to lay out on my tumbler. Now, again, this also aren't the only decals that I'm going to be using on my cup, but these are the ones that I have to use Cricut Design Space to cut. So now that I've assembled my entire scene, I'm going to get rid of that square shape and get these cut. Now moving back to our cup, I have applied 3 coats of epoxy and have sanded my cup, focusing on the top rim and any bumps that may be along the side. So now we're going to create the kind of mountain or uneven plane section of the bottom of the cup. So I'm just using 2-inch painter's tape, and I am going all the way around the bottom section of the cup here, just trying to keep my painter's tape as straight as possible, going all the way around that cup until the tape meets on the other side. So what we're going to be doing here is a little trick that I saw from Jessica Flynn over at Flynn Sisters Boutique. So I'm going to use a pen. I end up switching to a Sharpie, but I'm going to use a pen and draw kind of an uneven plane line. So I want there to be kind of some hilly features to kind of represent, like, you know, an old cemetery vibe, if you will. So like, you know, there's some sections of the cemetery that are, you know, much higher than others. So kind of to create that landscape on the bottom that I just wasn't quite getting with the glitter. So you don't necessarily have to add the glitter to the bottom of the cup. I did, after adding the glitter, know that I was probably going to have to do this in order to get the landscape that I wanted. But you could always forego the bottom glitter and then just after you've epoxied, do this step. So now I'm taking a very sharp craft knife and I am just going to trace the line that I have drawn all the way around my cup. You want to make sure you're being super careful with this. Nobody should be getting cut with their X-Acto knives. Those are very sharp, so please be careful. So take your time and go around and cut right into your tape and along that tape line. So now we're going to remove the bottom portion of that tape line. And then now that we have that section removed, everything from below that tape line, we're going to spray paint matte black. So I'm just going to go grab some plastic wrap quite quickly and wrap this up, and then I am going to spray paint the bottom section of this cup and let it dry before I go into applying my decals. Now that my spray paint has completely dried, I'm just going to remove the masking tape as well as the plastic wrap from around my cup. So I'm just going to remove that tape to show the new landscape that we have for the bottom portion of the cup here. It really came out really cool. I'm really excited and pleased with how it turned out. This is the first time I've ever used this kind of tip and trick that I saw Jessica Flynn do, so I'm really excited with how that turned out. So now that I have this all dry and the spray paint is dry to the touch, I'm going to go in and apply my decals. So I'm using a sticker cal sheet from BAMF Custom Creations. I have used a lot of her products in the past and I absolutely love them because they're so easy to apply, and I just love the variety that she has over there at BAMF Custom Creations. So feel free to check out her website. I will link that in the description down below as well. So starting with the moon, I'm going to just apply the moon towards the top half of the tumbler because I am going to be focusing a lot of my decals on the bottom section of the cup. So I want to make sure I have more than enough room and space to be able to apply as many decals as possible on that bottom portion and section. So flipping my cup over on my cup cradle here, I'm then going to apply my decal that says "'Tis the season to be spooky." So that will be directly on the flip side of this cup in the same section that it is on the front side. So kind of up towards the top section of the cup. That way I have enough landscape down below and cup area to be able to work with to apply the rest of my decals on the cup. So now I'm going to be applying my spooky trees here. So for my spooky trees, I want them to be touching the landscape, if not on top of it. And what I love about using any sort of black vinyl is that you will be able to see the lines once you apply it. Like I can see the line where it meets on the black spray paint, but as soon as I go to epoxy this, that line is going to disappear and you're not going to be able to see that. It will be perfectly blended into that spray paint, which I absolutely love how forgiving black vinyl is when it comes to cup making. So now I'm going to go in with my other spooky tree and put that almost on the opposite side of the tumbler. So on the very flip side of where that first tree is, again, putting that just below that line of spray paint to hide that kind of tree trunk root area so it doesn't look obvious and weird. So now I'm going to use some of the tumbler decals or sticker cals from BAMF Custom Creations. I'm going to take these little RIP headstones and apply them in a couple places on the cup. So I would have loved to be able to use all of these tumbler decals, but I just didn't have enough space. So I had to pick and choose the ones that I felt would really build upon the scene that I was creating. So I chose to use both the headstones and the two ghosts that were on this tumbler decal sheet. But I have more than enough tumbler sticker cals that I can do another spooky scene, which I think would be a super cute for like a duo spooky theme cup. So I'm just going to finish applying my ghosts kind of along that landscape area too before I go in and apply the last bit of decals, which are the little bats that I had cut with my Cricut earlier. So with the bats, I'm not going to use any, I'm not going to use transfer tape. I'm just going to use my craft knife to apply those. And the reason why I decided to use my craft knife is just because I feel like it's easier, especially when the decals are so small, to be able to apply them to the tumbler. So just using my craft knife, sometimes I just find this a little bit easier than fighting with transfer tape sometimes. I'm just going to apply them to my tumbler here. So I decided instead of putting them kind of just along the landscape to kind of cover up a little bit of that moon. I loved the stark whiteness of the moon, but I did feel like it stood out a little bit. And so to get it to blend and kind of look like it's supposed to be there, I thought overlapping the bats on top of the moon a little bit would definitely be to my advantage and kind of make it not so weird to have that giant white circle sitting in the middle of my cup. So I'm going to go ahead and finish applying these. And as soon as I'm done applying the bats to my tumbler, that is literally the last of the decals that I'm going to do. And then you guys know exactly what I'm going to do after this. I'll put this cup back on the turner and I will apply 2 final coats of epoxy to my cup before my cup is finally finished. So let's go ahead and take a look at the final results. If you loved today's video, give this video a huge thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys again next week.